Welcome to Meet Your Emmy Nominee. I'm Evan Reel from The Hollywood Reporter, and today I am joined by a man who needs no introduction, Trevor Noah. How are you?
I'm doing great, but introduce me, please. There might be someone watching who doesn't know me.
This is Trevor Noah, in case you don't know who he
Thank
is.
you very
He's
much.
the host of The Daily Show with Trevor Noah. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you very much for being here with me. I appreciate it.
I'm excited to be here, and I'm excited for you because The Daily Show has a whopping 3 Emmy nominations, including Outstanding Variety Talk Series, your first in this category since taking over in 2015. How does it feel to be nominated?
It's an amazing achievement and a journey that we've been on as a show. You know, it's really exciting that the show as a whole was nominated because it really does feel like every single person in this building has been instrumental and been a part of the success of the show. You know, taking over from Jon Stewart is one of the most difficult things I would imagine anybody could do in showbiz. I wouldn't recommend it to anyone. Don't do it. It's really crazy. And so it's been a continuing journey. How do you start a new show that in essence is an old show? How do you create something new from something old? How do you move into a world where people are watching less TV, but you're trying to be on TV? These were all the challenges we faced, and to get to the point where it's not just the audience and our fans that appreciate us, but also the Emmy voters is something that's really humbling and exciting at the same time.
Absolutely. Now tell me about the moment you found out. That must have been so exciting.
Oh, that was crazy. I actually found out when I was coming back from Russia. So I went to Russia for the World Cup, and so my phone was off for the entire flight. So when I landed, I had hundreds of voicemails and text messages, and I was like, oh, there's a scandal. Something has gone horribly wrong in my life. I was like, this is it. Because you never know what it is. You get off a plane, and it's like, this could be the worst thing, and it turned out to be the best thing. So it was congratulations, congratulations, but I didn't know what it was for. And then finally one message said, congratulations on the Emmys, and then I realized that we were nominated, our first nomination for Best Show, which was a really fantastic moment. But I was in the airport, and then I was getting to like customs and immigration. I couldn't have my phone out, so now you're trying to celebrate, and the guy's telling you to put your phone away. So it was an interesting moment to have a really exciting, I guess, announcement and revelation.
Who was the first person you called?
Who was the first person I called? That's interesting. I don't know that I feel like people called me as soon as my phone turned on.
Right.
So
you had a lot of calls to get back to.
Yeah. So it was just everyone. I'm more of a texter, so it was just like hello in order and thank you in order of like appearance in my phone.
Now, I saw in an interview that Jon Stewart said that you wouldn't be nominated in this category the first year. The second year, obviously, the third time is a charm. What was his reaction to your nomination?
He was amazing. He was amazing. Jon sent like a long text. He was just so happy. It's like he was nominated, to be honest, you know, which I've always appreciated. You know, Jon's always been a supporter of mine from the beginning. Mm-hmm. You know, he's one of the reasons I sit in this chair and I'm at this desk. He's always been like a little cheerleader in the background, egging me on and just being like, you know, do better, be better, enjoy yourself, have a good time. And so when we won, Jon was one of the first people to text and go like, this is it. He was like, I knew it from the beginning.
I love that. Now you have some amazing talent in your category, nominated alongside you, Samantha Bee, Stephen Colbert, Jimmy Kimmel. What other nominee are you most excited for and why?
Wow, that's a difficult one. Because I mean, it's a really interesting category for a variety of reasons, excuse the pun. But you know, Colbert's had a bumper year. I mean, you know, I was in a very similar situation to Colbert where we both took over a show, we both experienced the initial slump, and then we had to dig ourselves out. So I share something with Stephen where we both know what it's like to be really the underdog and not know what tomorrow will bring. John Oliver, I connect with because, you know, as an outsider, he came to America and worked on The Daily Show and then went on to create his own show that has become a huge success worldwide. And I'm a big fan of the show, I'm a fan of his. Samantha Bee stepped in and created a show that was needed and is extremely funny, and you know, and she's just hitting the ball out of the park doing her own thing. You know, James Corden with Carpool Karaoke. I've done Carpool Karaoke. I love his show. Kimmel, you know, has just found a new stride. So I think like everyone is in the space where it really is an honor to be amongst peers who I think all deserve to be in the category for different reasons. And so, you know, the only sad thing is only one person can win. So, you know, I'm happy that I'm friends with all of them and I'm excited for all of them. So at the end of the day, it's like, I'm glad that we're all in the club.
Absolutely. Now, as an Emmy-nominated host, what do you think the biggest challenges will be for Colin Jost and Michael Che hosting this year's show? Do you have any advice for them?
Oh, that's an interesting one. Advice for Colin Jost and Michael Che. I think the one thing I'll say to them is, their hosting is going to be a failure. It's going to be the worst hosting that we've ever seen at the Emmys. And once they accept that, then they're just going to go out there and have fun, because you can never please everyone.
Right.
I've learned every single time a person hosts, people go, that was horrible, that was this, that was that. Just go out there and have fun. Like, Jost is super funny, so is Che. You know, Che's one of my best friends, so I'm just like, go out there and have a good time. Just operate from the place of failure. Be like, yeah, everyone hated it. Now what would we do if we knew that? And I think that's exactly what they're going to do. They're going to go out there and they're going to crush it.
What is the key to making politics funny? I mean, you do such a great job at it, but I'm sure it's a lot harder than you make it look.
What is the key to making politics funny? Well, first of all, you have to find what you believe is funny. You have to use your funny to, I think, try and illustrate what you see as a quirk or a strange idea, you know, or a moment of BS that you want to expose. Right now, one thing that makes politics extremely funny is Donald Trump.
Yeah.
You know, I've always said to people, he's an emotional paradox. On the one hand, he's terrifying. On the other hand, he's hilarious. And that's a very difficult idea for many people to wrap their heads around, but that's genuinely how I feel about him. So, you know, in one speech, he can say something that threatens the way we see life in the world, and then in the very next sentence say something that is completely hilarious that knocks us off our feet. And so we're living in an interesting time where the dichotomy of the laugh versus the fear is something that we're constantly balancing every day.
Yeah, definitely. Who would you say is the first comic that spoke to you, and how do you think they've influenced your career?
Who would I say is the first comic that spoke to me? It's probably Eddie Murphy.
Yeah?
Yeah, he was like the first real stand-up comedian that I watched, you know, where I saw someone impersonating voices, playing with characters, telling stories. I watched Eddie Murphy and I saw a lot of what I naturally did with my friends, and I really enjoyed that. And then I've been lucky enough to meet amazing comedians, you know, in my journey in life. So Eddie Izzard very early on shaped how I performed my comedy. He made me more comfortable with sharing some of my more intimate stories on stage. He's a friend and a mentor. And, you know, Dave Chappelle, you know, in the US has been one of the rocks that I've leaned on, who's just helped guide me and give me ideas and help me understand the US market and comedy as a whole. You know, Neil Brennan, Chris Rock, you know, Michelle Wolf. Like, there's so many comedians who have in some way infused a little bit of themselves into who I am and what I do, and I'm always appreciative for that.
Now, you entered The Daily Show during a particularly interesting time in politics, to say the least. Are you somewhat grateful for the current political climate because it provides so much material?
I was grateful, and now I feel like it's gluttony.
Yeah.
You know, I feel like it's an embarrassment of riches, and I think it's gotten to a point as well where people are so overwhelmed that it's almost too much for people to absorb. You know, people want a break, and I understand that, and that's why what we try and do on the show is create context and also try and provide a prism through which we see not just America's politics but the world. It's nice to show people that Trump is not everything. Although he is the wildfire that consumes the news, it's sometimes nice to show that there are other things happening, there are other issues that do not involve him, and he is not the be-all and end-all. He is in many ways infused in everything happening in American culture and news today, but he is not the everything. So, you know, it's a good time to be in the business, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good time for everyone, which I'm always cognizant of.
You've become a master at analyzing his tweets, and you've called him the most prolific Twitter user in our lifetime. Can you elaborate on that?
Well, I think few people have mastered Twitter the way Donald Trump has. You know, for me, it's always a battle between Chrissy Teigen and Donald Trump. Those are the two Twitter champions for me. They handle trolls deftly. They engage with their fans in a way that very few can authentically online. They know how to, I think, process the platform with a strange nuance that from the outside doesn't seem like nuance, but that's what Trump does. You know, he knows how to get a message across. He knows how to use the platform to amplify what he wants to say. He knows how to be outlandish, and he knows how to connect. He knows how to be funny, and he knows how to be an instigator. He knows how to stir up divisiveness and hatred. He's really deft at using Twitter as a platform, and I think Twitter is in no small part one of the reasons that he is president today.
Definitely. Do you have a favorite joke or segment from the show over the past year that was inspired by a Trump tweet?
Do I have a favorite joke or segment? Probably Kofifi.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was the most benign. It was just like a funny little moment where I knew what he was writing, we knew what he was doing, but it was just like a fun little moment where we got to play with, an idea in a tweet and just like be like, what is Kofifi?
Right. Now, where do you find the line when it comes to targeting political figures, with Trump in particular, when you know that there is potential backlash?
Well, when you're dealing with politics, I think the one thing you have to acknowledge as a person is that there's always somebody who's going to disagree with you. Fundamentally, that's what politics comes with.
Right.
So if you get into the space of discussing politics in any way, shape, or form and expect people to all agree with you, then you're in the wrong game. I've come to learn that backlash is oftentimes an inaccurate representation of what most people are thinking. Backlash in today's society can be very loud, but that doesn't mean that it is very many people. Social media can amplify an idea that the general population is not feeling. And so I've come to learn, if I can back up my claims, if I can substantiate why I believe what I believe, and if I genuinely think it's funny for the right reasons, then backlash is part of the job. That's what being a comedian is at the end of the day. If everyone liked everything that you're saying, then are you really a comedian for me? And that's not what I'm trying to do.
Right. Now, back to Trump's tweets. The Daily Show recently released a book compiled of Trump's tweets. You have a library dedicated to his tweets. How did that idea come about?
Well, what we realized was presidents have libraries dedicated to them when they leave office. You have speeches, you have addresses, you have written words. But Donald Trump is not a man of books. Donald Trump is not a man of essays. He communicates in tweets, 140 characters or 280 at a time. And so we often laughed and joked and said he will be the first president to have his presidential library be only tweets.
Right.
And so we thought, well, why not build that? Why not create that to, I think, not only explore and celebrate his mind, but also give people a glimpse into how he created the persona that he is online. And what's great about the book is it's a manifestation of the library. So we didn't just take Trump's tweets and put them in a book. We took the tweets, we analyzed them, we compiled them in groups, and we put them together. We give you context. So how does Trump frame a Russia investigation? How does Trump engage in feuds online? How does Donald Trump feel about Diet Coke? How does Donald Trump engage with his fans? How does Donald Trump, just everything about his mind. And it's interesting how Twitter actually gives you a good idea of what he's done, what he's doing, and probably what he will do, because he does have a pattern. And that's really what the book is about, is exploring the mind of the man behind the tweets.
With so much exploration of his Twitter feed, what have you learned about Donald Trump?
Wow, what have I learned? I've learned way too many things.
You're like an expert at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I've learned that he loves to hit back. If he feels attacked, he will attack 2 to 3 times as hard. I've learned from his tweets that he is somebody who loves engaging in culture wars. That's one of the biggest things. Donald Trump is not a policy buff, but in culture wars, there is no expert, because it's all really just based on your opinion and your ideas. And that's one of the biggest things that Trump has been really good at cultivating online.
Right. Now, it seems like now more than ever, comedians have a way to engage in the political conversations in ways they haven't before. We see it on our social media feeds. Do you feel a responsibility to be part of the political conversation, or are you really just trying to make people laugh at the end of the day?
Well, I think that goes down to, it boils down to who you are as a person. So as Trevor, I have over time become more and more engaged in politics. I've become more and more engaged in social issues, and that's what interests me in life. Over time, I've refined the way I tackle these issues. I continue to refine how I see the world and how I engage with people in a conversation. But I don't think people should be assigning responsibilities to comedians, because then, in essence, what it does for me is it removes responsibility from the people that it should be on. And
Right.
Those people are the people in power and people in society. As humans, we like to assign blame and credit to other people, when in fact a lot of what we do we can attribute to ourselves and the world we live in.
Right.
And so for me, a comedian's job is to make you laugh. That's what I believe, fundamentally. How they make you laugh is up to them. Some comedians do it through observational humor. Some comedians will use politics. Others will refer to their life and they'll tell you anecdotes. Everyone has a different way of doing it. And so what I do is partly informed by politics and the world I live in, and that's because I'm a product of the world I came from. I grew up in a very political country. I grew up in a country where my very existence was defined by the politics of the world that I was in, and so I cannot escape that idea, nor that concept, nor do I wish to, because that's what I experience in the world.
That's what you do. That's why we love you. That's why you're nominated for 3 Emmys.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Trevor. Good luck in September. I'm rooting for you.
Thank you very much. I feel like you say that to everyone you interview, and
no,
I appreciate
I'm
that.
really rooting for you, I promise.
Thank you again for having me.
Thank you.